Kitco Mining special coverage of Xplor is brought to you by Radisson Mining.
Welcome back to Kitco Mining's ongoing coverage from Xplor 2025 here in Montreal. Joining us now is Bob Wares, CEO of Osisko Metals. Bob, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Ernie. Pleased to be here.
Glad to have you. So, as Osisko Metals, Canadian exploration and development company focused on copper and zinc. So these are very important metals. Obviously, they were last year, and all the more so this year.
That's right.
So let's take a look at starting with the demand side. Last year, we were speaking a lot about how copper is essential to the green energy transition, and that was very much the focus on the demand side. This year, it's shifted somewhat. Definitely, green energy is still very much a driver, but this year, the conversation has shifted more towards critical minerals and AI demand, and a lot of that related to national defense. So how are you seeing base metals and copper in particular in this environment?
Well, I think on the green energy side, obviously EV sales are not did not meet expectations. They're still there. So one can argue that on the transportation side, the demand outlook for copper has dropped. But now what's resurfaced in the last year is the importance of data centers and AI. These have become monstrous, consuming enormous amount of energy. And again, that all points to copper production to increase our electrical networks to feed all that. So on the defense side, more of the focus has been on critical minerals, especially rare earths. Just presentation this morning, we learned that an F-35 fighter jet consumes 400 kilograms of rare earths and so on. Goes into all aspects of modern military equipment. But and I don't think copper plays a huge role in that, but producing those rare earths, again, requires refining capacity, which requires electricity, which requires copper. At the end of the day, the fundamental basis for any technological environment is rooted in more electrical energy and hence more networks, bigger networks, and all that points to increased copper demand. So the outlook, I think, for copper has not changed. It's still very bullish. Most analysts agree that we need to add about 10 million tons of copper metal to production over the next 10, 15 years. And we're nowhere near still being able to meet that demand. Compounding that on the supply side is the issues that we've seen supply destruction, normally from Grasberg, the incident in Grasberg, El Teniente, Constancia, and of course Cobre Panama, which still, God knows when that's going to go back into production. So from what I've read, we've actually seen about a 7% drop in global production now in the last 18 months just from those events. So it's all, again, pointing to severe deficits, which are going to hit the market as we speak and going into the foreseeable future.
All right, yes. So this on the supply side, last year we spoke about, and this was before some of these major outages or shutdowns that you're referring to. What's the update on that? So you were last year you were looking at 2026 as when this was really going to come to a head. You're saying it's actually started a little bit before that at the point.
I think we're going to see a slight deficit by year end, but that's only going to get worse going forward with no indication of relief in sight. One possible aspect is better recycling of copper, but I don't think there's enough data at this point to see how recycling can make up for the shortfall. So all this will inevitably lead to higher spot price, which is already rising. Copper spot right now is at $5, and I'm, of course, very bullish on seeing that improve. But unfortunately, even if copper went up to $10 a pound next week, it's not going to accelerate the production. it still takes a lot of time, especially to get through the permitting process to put new mines into production. And that's just the reality of it. We obviously welcome the federal government's initiative through C5 to accelerate the process in Canada to put new mines into production, especially what the Carney government refers to as nation-building projects. So any significant copper project in this country should automatically fall under those auspices. But at this point in time, we've yet to see concrete impacts really on earlier development projects. And those are the projects that need the most help in terms of compressing the permitting timeline.
Right. Now, so circling back a little to that demand picture, how do you see it as potentially helpful, this new focus on critical minerals, on it being tied to national defense? These are very long-term commitments on the parts. So green energy, it's, it can, depending on the government, it can be more or less of a priority, even though the financial side of it makes sense. It's going to happen. But things like defense, you can really plan out better, not just maybe 4 years or 5 years. You can probably plan out better 10, 20, 25 years.
Absolutely.
So do you see that as a potential stabilizing force for potentially a floor price in metals deemed critical or essential to these types of build-outs, and a longer-term commitment? So regardless of the government in Canada, regardless of the government in the United States, these are the types of priorities that tend to run 10, 20 years.
Yeah, but it depends on which critical mineral you're looking at. China basically controls the rare earth market and a number of critical minerals by virtue of their ability to process, right? It's not just about mines, it's about processing capacity to come up with the end product that goes to the market. And China is on a long-term plan, and they've secured processing capacity for so many metals. It's insane. It's 90% in the rare earth side. For copper, it's 50% right now. So they've been working on this for 30 years. Whereas in North America, try to build a new smelter, a new metal refinery, you're looking at 10, 15 years of permitting. So again, we've paralyzed ourselves into extremely long, arduous permitting process while China has moved ahead. And right now it presents a huge security risk for all critical minerals, really, because we do not have the processing capacities. There's no point in opening a rare earth mine if you have to send it to China to get processed. And the same problem even for copper. All the BC production, which is the bulk of the Canadian production, it all goes to Asia for smelting. There are no copper smelters on the West Coast. Why not? Right? It would make a lot more sense in BC to have a copper smelter and a copper refinery. The last one left is actually here in Quebec with the Horn smelter and CCR in Montreal. And that's the final copper refining and smelting capacity we have left in this country. And it's extremely difficult for an operation like that to compete with China, because right now China's charging negative TCs for processing, and the Horn's a landlocked smelter, and makes it very difficult to compete on the international scale. So we have all these challenges. To secure our copper supply in North America, we need to build, I would say, at least 3 more smelters that are essentially besides port facilities to be able to bring in custom concentrate and also process our own copper concentrate. So we have a very long way to go if we hope to stabilize the supply side for critical minerals, both Canada and the U.S.
Right. Well, but do you see anything optimistic about, for example, the United States has floated the idea of building refining capacity on federal land, on military bases. So these are ports. These are very centrally located. These are very large things, have to move back and forth from these places. So do you see, it's not so much about is the Canadian government prioritizing, and it's to the degree that we feed into this massive U.S. market, to the degree that U.S. priorities will necessarily shape our policy. are you optimistic that if the U.S. is going to be taking these kinds of steps to secure their supplies, secure their refining capacity, do you expect to see a comparable commitment on the Canadian side, just out of necessity?
If the refining and smelting capacity was built up in the States, it would be an opportunity for Canada. It would be a market for Canada. So, excluding potential for the Americans to tariff our metal concentrates, which would not be to their advantage because they need materials, they need critical minerals. I think that's one of the trade deals that could be done, is to get Canadian mines to export their concentrates to the U.S. for processing. And that's certainly something that could be brought into the current tariff negotiations. The U.S. signed critical minerals deals with Ukraine, Australia, I think Malaysia. So obviously the Trump government is open to signing critical minerals deals. But that is mostly fueled by defense needs for the actual rare earths that go into military equipment. This is more focused on rare earths than it is for a base metal like copper.
All right, now let's talk a little bit about how Osisko Metals fits into this picture. So you just today actually you announced new drill results. Yep. So what's the latest from Gaspé?
So latest from Gaspé, we've been producing a lot of excellent results since last we spoke. Drill program's going to wrap up probably early December, with continued news flow on drill results, probably into the new year. That's just because the labs are slowing down at the end of the year. They're catching up on their backlog of core. We probably have 15,000 meters of core right now in the lab, waiting for assays. And that's going to lead directly to the next milestone, which is the new mineral resource estimate, which is still slated for the end of February. And we're very excited about the way the deposit's shaping up. We work in real time to redefine the boundaries of the MRE model as results come in. And it's, I have to say, it's shaping up very nicely. I think we'll bring very good news to the market by next February. And our objective, of course, is to use that as a basis for the PEA. But in 26, we intend on start drilling again, probably end of April, to grow the resource further south. It's wide open to the south and to the southwest, towards Needle Mountain, which was a site of previous production. And we want to fill that gap, which is about 500 meters of basically expansion drilling to add what will likely be inferred resources added to the current package of measured indicated. For the PEA, I think, and even potentially for the feasibility, the new measure and indicated will be more than enough. And the rest, whatever we add on to that can stay as inferred. Because don't forget, anything that's beyond 18 years mine life adds nothing to your NPV, right? Because of discounted cash flow models. So adding more measured indicated resources, if you already have a 30-year mine life, you're not going to add anything to your NPV. So we'll probably drill the rest of it as inferred and keep it as blue sky for future potential production. But the point is that this is turning out to be much bigger than we had anticipated, and that's certainly good news for the investors.
Great. And also good news for the investors. Osisko was also uplisted to the TSX from the Venture Exchange in August.
That's right.
So what does that mean for the company going forward? I guess for your story, but also for opportunities and...
Yeah, well, more liquidity, more exposure to capital markets for the larger funds. So as the story grows and we reach a market cap that's a minimum market cap that's palatable for larger funds to invest. Now we have the mechanism to do so because larger funds typically can invest in junior exchange listed companies. But being on TSX now opens up that market. So it's more of a longer term objective, but at least the door's wide open. So that's very positive.
Great. And what should we be watching for from Osisko Metals going into 2026? You mentioned the drilling program, but what are some other things we can look out for?
Well, again, the MRE is going to be the major milestone, and that's going to launch the PEA officially. And we anticipate more exciting drill results throughout 26. Right now, we're budgeting another 40,000 meters for 26, so we'll be drilling continuously till the end of 26 as well. And the objective is to keep growing that resource, which I believe will be in a continued bull market in copper throughout 26 and beyond.
All right. Well, we'll have to check back with you before next year from the sound of it.
Very good.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks, Ernie. Always a pleasure.
Our coverage from Xplor 2025 in Montreal continues. I'm Ernest Hoffman for Kitco Mining. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along for more updates.
Kitco Mining special coverage of Xplor is brought to you by Radisson Mining.